Thanks for making it here.
Eric. Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to discuss about AI today. So that's cool. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot for making the time on a weekend, and it's a very exciting topic indeed. So looking forward to have that conversation about this really interesting industry. AI is really moving at a pace I can still not really wrap my head around. I mentioned that I think in every podcast, but it's really staggering in terms of development. And I mean, we are with a lot of what we do on the forefront of it. So it would be really cool to see what your perspectives are, and in the combination of blockchain, even more so. So if you could do a quick intro about yourself, how you got into the space, what is your journey, and how do you look at the industry, especially the combination of AI and blockchain? What excites you the most?
Yeah, thank you, Eric, for the question. So I started my journey in crypto in 2018 when I first invested in Bitcoin, like everyone, I think. So at that time, I started to watch a lot of videos to try to understand the blockchain technology and the opportunity on the business side that it could bring to the economy and to the world. And 2 or 3 years after, like in 2021, I decided to start as a professional. So I did certification of the MIT in blockchain, and I started to work as a project manager in a company in Geneva, Switzerland, where I am based now. So I've been starting, at the intersection of my passion of my work. So that was a really interesting experience. It was more on tokenized asset certification at that time, so it was less on AI because it didn't came to as excited as it is now, at least in 2023. And then 2 years ago, I decided to create my own company, a data infrastructure, and the goal of Dig now is to collect crypto project data, verify this data, and deliver this data both off-chain to different kind of partners, data companies, analytics companies, for example, but also deliver this data on-chain, because a lot of the problem now with the oracles is the fact that they are like very specific data, but they don't have the wider picture of crypto project. So it exists off-chain, but it doesn't exist on-chain. And this is mainly what we're trying to achieve at Dig now, deliver this data on-chain. So this is why the discussion today with AI agent on-chain is important, because AI without data is nothing. And the most important for AI, even if you have a very efficient model, is the data. So that's why we are working on it, and happy to give you more details today on that.
Before we go there, maybe a little overview of your perspective. Where do you see the most impactful use case for agents and AI truly on chain? What is basically the killer use case you would see outside, obviously, what you're doing, for the application of AI in a blockchain context? Maybe in the top 3. I know there are plenty, but where do you see things headed?
Yeah, I think for me the most where we're going to see the two technologies, blockchain and AI, merging is regarding the payment, because whatever AI agent you have, maybe not now, but one of the most interesting, I would say, feature is the fact that AI agents need to access money or a way to buy or to sell products and services or data, for example. So one of the things that I think really in the coming years we're going to, not to see because it will be invisible for us, but this is how it's going to work on the backside, let's say. AI agent will have their own wallet and they will access products, services, data, whatever on blockchain, because we can automate everything with smart contracts. So I think that will be the killer feature, let's say, on how the two technologies are going to merge. I'm pretty sure of that. It's like the HTTP, the TCP/IP regarding internet. No one knows, if you're not in tech, no one knows that we are using that on a daily basis to access internet, but everyone is using it on a daily basis. So I think that if you compare, for example, AI and a blockchain, this is one of the main difference because a lot of people are using AI on a daily basis. If you look at ChatGPT, GPT means general purpose technology, meaning that it's a technology that is available cross-industry, cross everything. If you look at blockchain today, we really thought like 10 years ago it was going to be a big innovation in a lot of industries. In fact, it is, but we can see that the adoption is much more slower than what we can see with AI. So I think that AI is going to push the blockchain adoption as a technology in a lot of industries, but it's going to take maybe much more time.
You would basically see blockchain as a infrastructure layer towards AI. Is that what you're basically going
Yes,
towards, or is that the future you envision?
that's a good summary, Eric. Yeah, that's how I would frame that. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me as well. I totally agree. I think what I had encountered a lot in my conversations, or when I was speaking at East Vietnam on a panel, we were basically talking exclusively almost about that, is a blockchain basically as a, let's call it a sanity layer for AI, or a verification layer where you have this rigid structure of a blockchain, which basically enforces a certain degree of traceability, of auditability of what AI is doing, right? So if you basically would use it as the base layer to execute actions of AI, you would enforce the immutability and the rigidity of a blockchain layer onto AI, and therefore solve a lot of problems that people encounter right now with AI, which are responsibility for what's happening, agency of certain actions, traceability. So that's been a big discussion I've heard. Is that in line with what your idea would be for that?
Yeah, and this is a very good point because so this accessing, let's say, product and services through blockchain would be for me like the killer feature. And to answer this question and the one before, because I didn't yet, I think one important thing is also regarding the data, because this is one of the main advantage of blockchain is the decentralization, meaning that you don't have any point of failure, or at least you shouldn't have one only point of failure regarding database, for example. The fact that a centralized entity can manage whatever is needed, for example, data. If you look at Google or Microsoft, Amazon, for example, meaning that the fact that the decentralization is also important for data as a storage for data, I mean. So if you think about it regarding AI, now we don't know exactly how the biggest AI company are managing the data. It's like a black box. You don't know what's happening behind the scene. So I think that the fact we might be able also to use data based on blockchain for improving AI model and to be sure where the data come from regarding the privacy, for example. I think that's a very good and important technology to have to bring much more trust and credibility to AI, because I'm pretty sure for all of you guys listening today, you might have tested a lot of AI model, but when you talk with some people that are less open for technology, a lot of them are afraid and they don't want to try, they don't want to share their data. And there is a kind of a way to like a willingness to slow down the technology behind it. And I think that bringing blockchain into the AI adoption might also help for bringing more trust and more credibility for a lot of users and a lot of companies that are quite slowing down and watching what's happening, and maybe almost ready to jump in, but maybe they are not doing it now. So I think that might be the second features that we could see in the coming years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a very interesting perspective. What I find interesting, and I'd like to hear your view on that, along those lines, with more and more AI, as it is done right now in blockchain, what you usually see is not somebody developing his or her own LLM and then putting it in a decentralized environment. But what you see is people wrapping OpenAI, Gemini, you name it, whatever it is, one of the big models. But what that is introducing is going very much, in essence, against the ethos and the original ideas and ideologies of blockchain. It is introducing a heavily centralized, corporate-driven entity and stage in your whole process. Let's say if you have a trading board or some kind of investment board in combination with the DeFi protocol, you go to DeFi because you don't want to go to your bank, basically, right? That's the whole purpose. So, but now you're introducing another big company to run the intelligence behind it in their own environment, and you rely completely on them. So, can you envision a way how we get this I problem solved?
Yeah, that's a very good one, Eric. I started as a professional in the shipping industry, so maritime transportation, and back in the 1970s and 1980s, it was the first um, um, big companies, international companies that started to buy and acquire a lot of companies worldwide, and these companies were the first, like the really first biggest international companies, and then a lot of industries follows the mind. And if you look at the industry now, there is a lot of big player for each industry in the world uh, that have like a big monopoly. Like they have like the two or three biggest companies. They will get like 90 or 95% of all the industry. And unfortunately, I'm really afraid that this is what we're going to see with AI, because if you go back even 1 year and a half ago, you could find a lot of SaaS projects. As you said, like some of them have their own model, some of them develop their own AI, train their own model of AI, and they have like one or two features. I will give you one example with Read, Read.ai. It's like it's for saving meetings online, giving you a note regarding the interaction of all the people. So 1 year ago, we were paying as a company this feature because that was really interesting for us to have AI a resume of all the calls that we had, all the transcript of all the discussion and everything. And because we have our Google account, I don't remember, but some month ago, Google just with Gemini deployed this feature on the Google account for the same price. So why should we keep this other company paying like $30 per seat on a monthly basis while Google is doing it on its side? And I think that one of the trends that is going to be much more strong in the next month and next years is the fact that all the majors, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, this kind of company, they are going to integrate a lot of features, a lot of small businesses that you can be independent now. And that's why I said at the beginning, the metaphoric with the maritime transportation, I'm pretty sure that we're going to see the same with AI that we've been seeing in maritime transportation with all the GAFAM. They are going to lead like 95% with blockchain technology, for example. So I think, unfortunately, this is one of the trends that I see. All the majors, they're going to get stronger and stronger over time. Yeah, I really think that all the major companies in AI are going to get stronger and stronger. They're going to deploy and integrate a lot of features that other small startups now are developing, because they do have the technology, they do have the resources, financial and human resources to move forward. And I think it's going to be really complicated for startups to beat this kind of major, and because people do not, maybe people on companies are not interested, to privacy and transparency. I mean, a big majority of them. That's really not the problem. So that's why I think that using this tool, because it's easy, because it's less expensive, will be the two most important criteria for a lot of people. And maybe people like us that care more about transparency, privacy, we are okay to use other tool, but we are really like 5% of the population in the world. So yeah, I think the trend there is all the AI major company are going to take over a lot of features, a lot of the market, like to get 90%, 95% of everything, to make it short.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a really difficult situation in that way that only the big companies really have the data necessary to train, and then they're the only ones that have the resources to actually go through like a training process of a brand new LLM is really expensive. We're talking
Mm-hmm.
millions over millions, and then in the end, they keep on possessing the basically monopoly to, or maybe oligopoly to the stack, and it's gonna be interesting to observe what to do about it. Like you can start a startup with like a small use case easily, sure, and that might be easier now than 10 years ago. But the fundamental tech, 10 years ago, you were able to create a startup that's building fundamental tech,
Yeah.
right? The fundamental foundational tech to what we do now. I don't see that being easily possible with AI for all the reasons I named. And honestly, I don't have a good solution for this right now. I think what we are addressing, the privacy and the accountability of what's happening, that's a good start. But yeah, I don't see how it figures out the problem of that monopoly that's created there. And it brings us to the next point, right? We are talking about a very influential tech here that potentially eventually would run big parts of our daily life. And then look at all the AI products spawning up left and right. We rely on them more and more. So the influence of these companies will just grow. One way I see is open source. I mean, we brought out our own, created two products basically around that later on will run on ChainsAtlas as a foundational infrastructure layer. One is in the cybersecurity space, basically helping you run a threat analyst, somebody that's, if there's an incident, you need to usually go through the forensics, realize what happened over the last few weeks, analyze, okay, is this actually happening or is it a false positive? And then you want to understand, okay, are there some anomalous structures in my network that point towards some attack that I haven't seen before? All these things, they're usually very time consuming. You would have an analyst on it that is very well trained in data science and would go after all these things I just mentioned. We basically created an AI that's capable of doing this, and a smaller version, which is basically just a virtual data scientist. Might be interesting to have that conversation at some point, Pierre. I think that could be very useful for you as well, which can basically analyze data towards whatever you wanted to in a chat interface. So basically, you upload your data and you say, okay, can you find certain structures in it? Can you find anomalies in it? Can you tell me the correlation between two variables? And it would do that in seconds, which usually for data scientists would take a while. We did this using LLMs, open source LLMs, and retrain them to our needs. Right? So they're basically becoming our own model. That means somebody will have to be willing and able to put down the money to create this model for millions to billions, and then open source it, and basically don't make a lot of money with it. Um, so thankfully we're seeing this right now, but for very different incentives. Mostly because, let's say, Meta, Llama is open source, frankly, because they were just late to the game. And
Yeah.
they saw that in the traditional fashion couldn't overtake OpenAI and Google and Anthropic. So they had to do it in a different way and just wanted to open up the game a little bit. But what's your take on, like, how do we solve that particular issue, which is kind of intrinsic to the way this is handled right now?
Yeah, but as you said at the beginning of your explanation and comment, Eric, um, I think behind the AI part there is a very very big um, question of power, because if you look now at um, the major companies, they are all from the US. And if you just want to run a test, I'm pretty sure you guys, you come from all over the world, but I'm from Switzerland. We have another way from doing marketing, for example. So if you go on Gemini or ChatGPT and said, okay, I want you to act as one of the best guy for doing landing page in tech, for example, do that, and is going to create one of very good landing page, and all the keywords, all the hero section, and everything will be like Americanized way of doing marketing. And this way, for example, in Switzerland, we cannot do that. If you do that, they will say, okay, so you're not credible and you just want to sell me a car, you know. It doesn't feel professional. So every time we are using uh, um, this kind of LLM, we need to give much more context, saying that, okay, so it's for a landing page with Swiss customers, for example, in my case. So what does it say behind the scene is the fact that AI is becoming a very powerful tool also for the US, because it's Americanizing everything that we're doing on a daily basis. And despite where you come from in the world, you have this kind of information coming from this culture. I mean, but behind the culture, there is also the way that these companies are creating, training the AI and what they want you to do. Every time you use Gemini, for example, or Claude, is going to say that whatever you say, that's really good. You've been thinking, that's really cool, blah blah blah. And this kind of thing, it's really a like American way to support people, a lot
Yeah,
of
very
benevolence,
much. Yeah.
but it doesn't work for other culture in the world. So this is also like a
No,
very strong. Yeah, yeah. Go on, Eric. Go on.
no. I just agreed. Like me being German, it wouldn't work for Germans as well. Like very close to
Yeah,
Swiss in the way they think. But even in Southeast Asia, where I'm active a lot, it wouldn't work. It's just a different approach. It would be seen as too direct, too blunt,
yeah.
and uh, yeah, completely agree. Absolutely.
So yeah. So that's for me also, because behind it there is a big question of power, and we don't know how also they are training the data, on, as you said before. And I really think that on a long term basis, it's quite dangerous, because um, they are going to control everything. I mean, of the reasoning, the type of data that they're going to deliver to you. And if you imagine that, we do have a lot of experts in the world now in a lot of fields, and I'm a little bit afraid of how, if I was like 18 today, which kind of studies I would go, if I would go to university on everything, and what's the goal of learning for 5 years if you get whatever information you want like in 5 seconds. So behind it there is a big shift in paradigm, because we AI is going so fast, so we need to try to be flexible as human. We need to try to be as smart as possible, but maybe spending a lot of time on getting some knowledge, it's going to cost a lot of energy. So I think I don't have the solution either, but I think that we just arrive in a very shifting world, and yeah, I don't know how it's going to happen because there's a lot of opportunities behind it. I think we can already see that a lot of companies using AI, they are getting much more efficient. They are quicker to answer to customers. They are quicker for a lot of things. So that's cool. That's also one of the orientation of the world since 15 or 20 years, because everybody is not patient. Everybody wants everything now. So the time is being compressed since some decades, and the time itself is going to be much more compressed with the use of AI because we are less patient as people. One of the big disadvantages of that is the fact that we are not going to validate information, control information. And that's go back to what you were saying before, Eric, meaning that maybe AI is going to validate some data, validate information, but you cannot avoid the fact that that's a lot of time, a lot of energy, and less people are doing that. So maybe AI is going to take the control. And if it 90 or 95% of everything that it said is good, then it will be okay. But yeah, I think that the AI is just like a mirror of what we are as human, and AI is built the same. So yeah, I don't know how it's going to happen, but we do have a lot of opportunities, but a lot of challenge ahead. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel sometimes AI is basically like a human on steroids because it's trained on our data. Right? It's amplifying the good a human represents, but also all the not that great elements, all the like hallucination is a good thing. I just read this article. I don't know if it's true, so I don't want to tell something that might not be true, but it's definitely possible. Where apparently one of the big consulting companies, I forget which one, it doesn't really matter, had a contract with I think the Australian government to prepare some paper. Contract worth 500,000. So, and in the end, once it was delivered, quality assurance on the government side figured out that half of there were wrong quotes, there were wrongly stated facts, and then that company had to admit to using AI. And AI, as we know, especially if you use the wrong model for the wrong purpose, tends to fill in gaps that are there. So up to the point where it hallucinates, where it makes up academic papers to support the narrative in that paper, right? Which led to apparently a big problem. Obviously, they had to redo it, apologize. Again, I don't know if it's true or it's just one of those stories you hear on the internet, but it's definitely possible. And we've seen other examples of this. So I feel like still a lot of people take these models for gospel and think that this is like a computer model which is always to the point, always gives you the truth, is always correct. But that's not what it is. You need to treat it like a overgrown or overly stimulated, overly knowledge. That's another thing where where I think blockchain can play a big role, as we said in the very beginning, to loop back to there, verifying outputs of AI just as much as verifying the actual execution and proper environment of AI as an entity, but also like whatever is created out of it, does it make sense? Is it factually correct? Right? All these things. But as you said, things moved so fast. I think 99% of the population, and I hear that in conversations I have on a daily basis, are just not aware, first, what AI can do at this point, and second, don't really care to learn because it's so fast, they feel overwhelmed and just stick to what they do and rather not be bothered with it. To the point where I mentioned the cybersecurity, and I know I'm blabbering on, I'll be almost done. This just came to me. I just had a conversation a while ago when I did outreach for that cybersecurity solution, and I talked to some people just to get feedback. And people will tell me, okay, they work for cybersecurity operation centers, SOCs, and they would refuse to use AI, which in a way I can understand for all the reasons I just named. But on the other hand, your attackers, the red teaming, the people that attack your network, they will use AI. And how do you want to keep up with their speed and pace and tenacity that they can keep up because of AI, which never sleeps, which is very fast in doing things, and which now is capable of writing very sophisticated code to attack you? How do you want to defend against this if you just say, okay, because we cannot always trust everything AI tells us, we completely cut it off the process? So there has to be some middle ground. And now I know I went on a tangent, but it's something that's very dear to me and very close to what I'm doing. So I think in essence what I want to say is how do we cope not only with the executional layer and the actual infrastructure and tech, but also with the human perception and the way humans interact with AI. Do you see the combination of blockchain and AI and generally the way things are handled? Do you see ideal ways?
I agree with you, Eric. So to answer your question, I can give you like one specific example of what we are building at DigNow. So as I said at the beginning, DigNow is a data infrastructure. So our goal is to collect crypto project data, verify this data, and deliver this data both off-chain and on-chain. When we started a project 2 years ago, one of the most important challenge that we have was hallucination, as you said. The problem was that when we were looking to data, validate this data, we had between 60 and 80% of the data that were correct or able to use. So this is why we decided on the backend side to find a way merging AI and blockchain to validate accurate data at the end. So this is why now 80% of the data we're collecting is based on AI model. So we developed our own model. And in addition to that, we have 20% of the data validated by a decentralized community. So, for example, 2 years ago, when we were looking to the CEO of a company, sometimes it give the good name, but sometimes it give the name of the CTO, for example. So we find a way to collect this data, put it on our platform, which is called Task Hub, on maintenance today, but it will be live, I think, this afternoon or maybe on Monday. If you want to have a look and try, just go. And then just to finish the process, so we collect this data and we're going to ask a lot of people to say, okay, so who is the name of this CTO or who is the name of the CEO of this company? And of course, people participating will get rewarded with the compensation in token. And this is a way that we found to merge blockchain and AI to use the power of decentralization and decentralized workforce with what we call the diggers. And the goal behind it is clearly to increase drastically the level of accuracy that we use. So that's why we think that our model could be interesting, because if you look, for example, to on-chain AI agent, they need to access accurate data to take accurate decision. If they don't have the good decision, if they don't have the good data, they can't take accurate decision. So that's why we think that the model of data validation that we are developing now is very interesting on chain. It's very interesting for DeFi protocol, for example, because we specifically designed a model to verify data. And you know, I'm pretty sure that on a yearly basis, if, for example, we have now like 80% of data validated by AI, it's going to increase over time. And maybe in 5 years, it will be like 96 or 97%. But then we might be able to focus with human on the very specific data or information that AI cannot get. And this is why the model is quite interesting, because we could scale horizontally or we could scale vertically depending on the need that we have. So just to finish on that, that's a very specific example on how we use blockchain with AI or AI with blockchain to increase the quality of data at the end. That will be very important for AI model doing some on-chain execution, for example, like investing agent or trading agent on-chain or DeFi agent on-chain, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really important aspect of AI, and I think blockchain. This is where the intersection really makes. Approaching the 20 minutes mark left, we have quite a few questions from the community. Generally, what I also want to understand about your project. I think now, so you already mentioned how you collect data, how you have it analyzed. If our users would like to make use of the data you create and you make accessible, is it helping a general public, or is it only accessible as a specific institution? How can people learn more about what you do and how they can use it?
So the stage of we are now is mainly on what we call the verification of data by the community, because we are refining all the AI model and consolidating, because that's a huge work and that's the huge part. This is why we wanted also to have this decentralized model of data verification live. So if you want to try, guys, just invite you to go on our website, dignow.io, and you will find a button at the top right for Task Club. So you can go there, just create an account. It's only like an email. And we are going to relaunch another season with data validation in the coming weeks. I think in 2 weeks it should be live. We are just doing all the work on the back end for now, so it might start very soon, and you might be able to validate crypto project data. That's the focus on what we are now. It might be cross-chain. It might be around 30 to 35 data points per project. So, for example, if you are more interested in tokenomics, you could do only tokenomics data verification. If it's on the team, it could be on the team. So there is a lot of different topics that you might find per project. If you want to try it, yeah, I would love, of course, get the feedback, and you could give us the feedback on the Telegram group or on X, for example. That's not a problem, but that will mainly be the thing to participate here.
Awesome. Sounds really fascinating. You should have a separate call about where you're at right now. There have been quite a few, I think, complementary developments on our side as well.
With good pleasure, Eric.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe last question before we go into the Q&A. You were coming to the AI blockchain game now. What industries, what approaches, what kind of projects do you think would make the most sense for a new entrepreneur, somebody that might want to build something? What would be a recommendation to do, and what do you think is a good market to target?
Yeah, that's a good question. Are we talking outside the crypto space or inside the crypto space?
Maybe ideally the combination, but also outside. I think,
okay.
But maybe in the context also of the fact that nowadays it's so easy to create a new startup and validate it compared to 10 years ago, with AI particularly. But let's say particularly in this intersection of AI and blockchain, but also just AI in general.
So that's really a good question. So first of all, if some of you guys want to build your company, just go and do it. I'm pretty sure Eric will share the same, but that's quite a game changing in your life. So that's of course a lot of work. That's a lot of stress, of course. But the journey is very interesting because this is how you're going to improve as a human for a lot of things. And before that, I used to be an employee, and of course, in the recent 2 years, I developed myself much more than what I used to be as an employee. So, for your personal development, that's not like very easy question to answer, but that's for me that was very interesting, and I wouldn't I wouldn't do different if I had to, like 2 years ago now. So I would really encourage you to do that if of course this is what you want to do. Regarding the AI part, as you said, Eric, one of the big difference now regarding 2 years ago when we started is the fact that you can have an MVP very fast with like 2 months of development do 2 or 3 months of development using AI. And I think that opened a lot of doors for a lot of people who are not tech guy to develop their own company. One of the bad thing with that is the fact that they're going to have a lot of competition. If you go back 25 years, very few numbers of websites. And to develop a website, you need to be a tech guy. Like some years ago, there was a lot of free tools, so you can just put your content and the website is going to be developed. So that created like billions and billions of websites worldwide. So the competition is very hard. So you need to have a very good idea. You need to have a very good idea to attract a lot of users on a website. And I think that's the same now with developing a SaaS model or a company, because everyone can do it with a very few budget in the world. So you need to focus on quality, and you need to focus on is it really a problem that people want to be solved. One of the other thing that I think is important to have in mind is the fact that, as we said earlier, a lot of major AI companies are going to take over a lot of features in the coming months and coming years. So the solution that you might develop should be customized enough to ensure that they are not going to develop this feature on their model. For example, if you do like, I don't know, email classification on database using AI, you can be sure that Google, Microsoft, Amazon, everyone is going to have this feature in 1 or 2 years. So don't do that. That's why you need to find a way. I think that could be interesting is to make the link between companies and AI model, because if you look at smaller companies, SMEs, a lot of them, they don't have tech guy inside the company. And if they do, they don't have the skills, on AI. And a lot of these SMEs, everyone is going to use AI in the coming years. So we can expect that a lot of major AI major are going to develop like 100% tool that can do everything for you. But still, there will have some friction because of technical uncertainty, technical knowledge, the fact that there is a lot of different tools, with different coding language. So I think one of the good thing, if you have some ideas, is to make the link between the AI major and SMEs to ensure that they will access AI on a very interesting way for them. So that's 100%, I agree, totally against the blockchain technology, which is also a way to reduce third parties on intermediaries. But I think if you look at human, you always need to have intermediaries that will be like a centralized way to have skills, resources, and knowledge. And we cannot know everything in the world. So that's why we are going to some people that have this knowledge. And I think that will be the same in companies. So if you have this knowledge, want to develop that, focus on AI, you might find some way to earn money and to get rich. I don't know, but to earn money, to live on a daily basis doing that. Being a facilitator of AI for a lot of people and a lot of companies in your own country, I'm pretty sure that could be a good bet for the coming years.
Yeah, I agree completely. Maybe I would add one thing, also putting on my hat as a startup accelerator, little side project, as most of you probably know. I think it's very important now because funding has become different. A few years ago, you could get funding on small traction, some interest, first MVP. Nowadays, because it's becoming so much easier, most investors want to see actual sales numbers. They want you to be able to sell. So I think facilitate AI not only on the tech front, building the tech, but also on the marketing and sales front, and see that you sell before you build, before you grow. Um, that's been something I've seen a lot lately because you can build a sales pipeline, a marketing pipeline much easier now. So you can get validation and you can build the product once there's enough validation there. And then you build it so much faster, so you don't have people waiting for months. Obviously, that's true for many things. If it's deep tech, if it's something like innovative blockchain on which you can run AI inference on chain, like a ChainsAtlas, it might take a bit more time and it's a bit more intrinsic. If you want to build a completely new AI model, those are deep tech. That's the deep tech side. That's still different rules. But for your standard user, end user, client facing startup, I think that's the way to go from here on. And I think that's one of the first and most dominant impacts of AI I've seen in how we do business. I find that really interesting. So completely agree with everything you said.
The same for me, Eric. Yeah, I agree with the fact that now to get funded as a startup is very, very complicated if you don't have a working product or like an MVP with first customers, paying customers.
Yep.
Or if you've been like an entrepreneur before and you've done some exit and you have like a big network of investors, that's okay because they might want to follow you again. But if you don't have that without a product and customers, it's going to be very hard. Yeah, I agree.
Extremely so. Yeah. And I think that's not bad. It focuses startups on actually making money again, which frankly they didn't for a long time. It was all about growth and trying to get a good exit. So there's good and bad in it. But
Yeah.
however you want to look at it, it's just the name of the game now. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
If you're ready, if you have a bit of time, I know we are already almost at the hour mark. We're a bit too excited talking about this topic, but I would like to go into the Q&A and ask a few questions from the community if you have some more time.
Yeah, I do. Let's go with great pleasure. Yeah.
Then the first one is from Plant. How can AI agents perform real-time decision making on high-frequency blockchain data without causing network congestions? I think that's a question tailored for you.
Yeah. Let's say that it really depends on the infrastructure that it's working. But let's say that AI agent will be based on smart contracts. So like one decision will be like one transaction. So it go back to the fact that what is important for a blockchain to be very efficient is its cost, of course, but it's also the scalability. So for example, now maybe there is some guys working on a solution, but I would be astonished to have like AI agent on the Bitcoin blockchain, for example. So I think that the one important thing is really the technology behind it. So having like a scalable, fast, and costless blockchain will be the most important thing to have efficient AI agent for avoiding to have like a network congestion, to be spending too much for each decision or each transaction that is taken. So I think that will be the most important part for me. And we can see that there is already some agent, for example, on Solana that are performing also on Base. But again, if you think like blockchain is a network itself, I think that now we have too many blockchains, layer 1 and layer 2. And I think that if you want really to have like a performing model, I mean for all the world, for all the economy, you should need to have like cross operation, cross discussion. And I think that interoperability is going to be very important in blockchain, or even the fact that one or two blockchain are going to take the lead to get like 95% of all the transaction. That's what I said before with the maritime transportation, with the AI major. And I think that's really a facilitation for everyone to use the same model because it simplifies everything, it's cost less on everything. So the battle for who is going to win that war is going to be hard. For now, I can't share any name, but I think there are too many useless blockchain layer 1, layer 2 now, and a lot of them are going to die in the coming months and years for the next bear market, for example, because of that, because everyone is looking to efficiency, interoperability, and that's important for all economic model.
I think that's a very important part. I mean, that's where the roots of ChainsAtlas originally were interoperability, and we haven't given up on that yet. We still have that tag. Maybe from our perspective also, I might add that AI execution inference on Atlas metrics, which will be our AI-enabled blockchain. We brought in some innovations that enable the execution of AI in a fashion that is not as resource consuming. I don't want to go into the technical detail because that's probably going too deep. But there are ways to enhance the performance of blockchain while still keeping its foundational purpose as a validation layer. I hope that answers your question, Glenn. Would go on to the next question from Shakibul. I hope I'm not butchering your name, and sorry. What industries are or real-world sectors are best positioned to benefit first from blockchain-based AI automation? And what breakthroughs, technical or regulatory, are still needed before we see mass adoption of autonomous AI agents?
Thank you for the question. It's a very good one. Let's say that we've been discussing with one partner that was developing on-chain AI agent for yield optimization. So having the best strategy for yield automatization using AI agent. So technically, now you can have some very good combination between infrastructure, coding, different tool. It can work. Let's say it can work. The most important behind that is are people open to put to put their money in this kind of model on AI agent, meaning that I don't know if you have like $5,000, you put that to a wallet, and the AI agent is going to automatically manage your wallet and with yield strategy on everything. So technically it works. It's going to work. It's going to take decision on everything. One of the most important thing behind that is the fact that what will be the trigger that will make the decision taken by the AI agent? It's data. If he has a good data, good information, whatever is going to take the decision. So it come back to what we were saying before. The most important there is the data. You need to ensure the data is accurate, both in terms of quality, quantity, and also of timing, because you cannot use, I don't know, a data validated like 6 months ago. You need to be sure that it's still accurate now. So behind it, there is the regulatory question, because if you put your money to this kind of agent and the agent take a bad decision based on false data, for example, who is the responsible for that? In TradFi or in the banking system, everything is compliant because they've been working like decades and decades to define the best way to defend the user, let's say, even if it's not 100%, of course. So the regulatory part is very important in this kind of model, because there is no like centralized authority to do that. So the only thing that you can do without any regulation is the trust. So do you trust this model? Do you trust the team? What happens if there is a problem? And I think that for now, that's an unsolved question in the space. And this is what is for me refraining a mass adoption of AI agent on chain, because that's still very risky for people to put all their money there. So we can expect it to get better over time, but it's going to get sometimes let's see how it's going to evolve in the US, because I'm not thinking about politics. I'm thinking about the law. Because if they are going to implement some new regulation there, it can open the doors to maybe not a mass adoption, but a legitimation of how AI and blockchain work together. So we need to stay attentive of what's happening there, because despite what's happening on the politics side, they are the one that are the initiators of technology over the world. So we need to stay aware of what they're going to vote on and to implement in the law. It would be my idea on that, Eric.
From my take, I think on the tech side, I don't think much is needed. How I see the tech side, to be honest, is let's take that example you mentioned, like the lead yield optimization. I don't think you want to use a full LLM or full model, reasoning model to do all that for you all the time. It's computational, very expensive. I see the future is, and obviously I'm a bit biased here because this is what we are doing also with one of our activities, our new partner, GoDeep, for example, is to build very specialized narrow intelligence, AI, or narrow agents that are spawned by that major LLM. So basically, you build a very narrow neural network that's basically a highly specialized version that is good at trading or good at investing in yield investing. You wouldn't want to use the major model for that. It doesn't make sense. So that's on the tech side. But all this is possible. I don't think there are roadblocks at the moment. So basically, you tell the major agent, this is the kind of specialized version or analytics I need, optimization I need, spit it out. It will spit that out very quickly, very fast, very efficient. And you have a much easier to run smaller model that does that optimization for you, which then can be audited and checked if it's still the optimal model by the major model. Technical side is pretty much a check. We're technically there. We can do that. So I'm not worried there. In terms of what industry, I think all industries, honestly, AI is a technology that goes from left to right, whole spectrum. I don't see a single industry that won't be impacted, frankly. Another regulatory part, exactly what you're saying, right? Agency. That's really the point that it comes up in every conversation about AI and nobody has solved it. If this trading bot is now making decisions which lose all my money, who do I sue if I think it was malicious or something was bad, right? Who's responsible? The LLM itself? Do I have a right to have it forced shut down? Not that I want to instigate the AI uprising here, but or is it the people that trained that model? Is it the underlying data that it was trained with? Like who? Yeah, and in the traditional finance, this is very easy, as you say, right? Like there's a bank, there's within the bank a group, and within the group a person probably that has been responsible for my investment decisions. So that is the major regulatory issue and problem here. We don't have that solved, and I don't know any legislation which has it solved. And yeah, usually people move by what the US does. Right now, the US doesn't seem to really know where they're moving, so that's a bit difficult. So yeah, regulatory, I think that's the biggest hurdle here, and I don't see it being solved. That's the one thing that stands in the way. I think I agree there completely. Technology check, in terms of what industry, all of them. But yeah, regulation is very slow because there's no good answer, to be honest. I wouldn't be able to. I know it might not be the most satisfactory answer, but that's all I can give you.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But for the regulation part, because I'm pretty sure that's the case for a lot of us, we don't like regulation because it's going against, the decentralization of blockchain mind on everything. But on the other hand, this is the way that we're going to have mass adoption. If people think that there will have no risk for them, and then they can use blockchain and cryptos app with like any other one. So yeah,
I mean, as long as you don't have the regulation and you accept that if you put 5K in, it might all be gone, and you know the risk you take, and either you're responsible and 5K isn't that much to you, and it's fine, or you know that's all your life savings and you're pretty much done for if it all is lost. It's your decision, right? But most people don't have that knowledge, and they like, yeah, you need to have some regulation for the mass because lawsuits will happen. People will sue you if you lose their money. Pretty
Yes,
sure.
that's for sure.
Fatima, can AI agents execute predictive analytics on chain, or is off-chain computation still necessary? Right now, AI agents cannot execute on any chain, really. It's not something that's possible. That will be possible with Atlas metrics and our technology, but not yet. Predictive analytics, most of that is relatively simple execution. The problem here is more the data that has to flow through. Mostly predictive analytics only makes sense on big data sets. So for practical purposes, probably at this point in time, yes, you need off-chain analytics. Or computation rather, sorry. That might change with time and some of the innovations that are coming, for example, with Atlas metrics, but there are obviously ways to do this in a still verified fashion. You can have the decision by your AI, the inference, so-called inference of the AI agent, qualified chain, and then you can have the source code of the actual predictive analytics. May that be a more statistical analytical approach, so more traditional way of doing analytics. Or may it be a neural network, a narrow neural network, right? So if you talk about LLMs, we talk a very broad neural network, something that is acting on various use cases that are not necessarily related. But traditionally for a long time, good example is facial recognition. That's a narrow neural network, trained specifically for one purpose, and it is identifying faces. Right? So you would basically, in my vision of the future, have an AI agent create that narrow analytics that then is running for your prediction that you need for your very narrow use case. And it can do that for different sectors. The AI agent can do that for different sectors. Right? So you would have the source code, the process behind it, so you can verify all this, even if it were to be computed off-chain. That's going a bit technical and a bit deep. But long story short, I think in the future, a verification on chain is very much possible. Validation on chain is very much possible, but at the moment, it's not. I think that's the short answer to this. Pierre, do you want to add something to that, or do you
No, I
think I'm
think
wrong?
no, 100%. I think you're right on it. It's a little bit more technical question for me, so it's cool that you answer this one. So I wouldn't have done it better. So that's cool. Yeah.
Mamo Islam, what does it really take to make AI agents act on-chain? Not just read blockchain data, but actually execute and make decisions. Okay, let me take this one quickly as well, because that's basically what we do at ChainsAtlas.
Yeah.
I cannot give you the specifics of the technology that's needed. It's gonna be way beyond the scope of this podcast, but in essence, you need to be able to run something on chain. You need to be able to verify the execution of what has been run on chain. So basically, right now, if you run a smart contract, same set of code has to be executed by various nodes. The outcome of what was computed has to be verified by all these nodes. There has to be a consensus between those nodes that the outcome was correct, and then that's your result. Right? And for AI, traditionally, that's difficult because there are various reasons. There are different ways AI acts. It's in a way pseudo stochastic. It isn't really. It's not. There's no real So as it's using traditional computation, even though it's so complex in the way it does the computation, it's very hard for us to backtrace why decisions are made. That's a unique trademark of AI, of neural networks. The outcome of what the decision is of that neural network is very hard to backtrace how the decision was made based on what variables because they're so complex. Not necessarily because there is pure chance in it. If we, in the real world, true probabilistic, true chance is introduced by quantum mechanics. There are processes in nature which are, as far as we can know right now, are fully probabilistic. There's a certain percentage of chance one thing happens and another percentage of chance that another thing happens. We don't know what will happen. We can just give you the probability of what to happen. In many ways, neural networks are similar because they're so complex to backtrace. Now there are certain features we can play with to make that a little bit different and a bit more easy to do. But in general, their computation is expensive, they are big. It's much more difficult than for traditional code to put them on chain and verify them. So that's where a lot of the innovations that flow into Atlas metrics come from, to make that still happen. Again, if you're interested in the exact details of how we make that happen, some of this is still not public knowledge. We will open source it eventually, but it's not yet. But some of it I'm happy to share, or our tech team is happy to share. We're happy to, if you're really interested, let us know on all our social media. We arrange a AMA with our tech team, and they can give you more details on it. That will be a very, very technical call, though, so be prepared. It's quite mind-blowing, though. It's very, very cool tech. But all in all, it is not easy. It's not an easy problem to solve. We have solved it, at least for an initial model. And we're quite proud of it. But yeah, it's not an easy problem to solve, long story short. There are things like CK proofs and so on, which could play also into this. But they haven't been proving themselves as much as people hoped so far. But yeah, if we go into this, we will end up going very, 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 very deep into that rabbit hole, and we'll be very technical, and we're probably going to bore a bunch of people. But again, if you're really interested in this topic from a technological angle, please let us know. If enough people ask, we will arrange an AMA to that end. And I would love it, because I love this kind of conversation and this technical intricacies of it, even though I'm probably not 100% qualified to put it into place, but we have the people to talk about it, and I would love to be part of it. But yeah, again, I can't do that here. I think it would go too far. But maybe, Pierre, if you have a super quick answer to this that I missed, I'd love to hear it.
No, I think that's okay. You just put it everything on the podcast. That's cool. I think we can move to the other question.
Again, yeah. What cryptographic techniques can we use to ensure that AI agents are not influenced by maliciously manipulated on-chain data? You want to attempt an answer to this?
Yeah, so as you said, that's a very technical question. I would say that one of the solutions will be that zero knowledge proof, but I'm pretty sure there are others. But yeah, I'm to be honest, I'm less comfortable to answer this question, because that's a little bit more tech on the cryptographic side. So if you want to take it, Eric, I would love to let it to you.
I take a shot at it, but honestly, I mean, fundamentally, if you talk really only on-chain data, in theory, And if you talk about one blockchain alone, you have the full audit trail. I mean, everything's immutable. You know exactly what happened in the past, so you can verify is that data actually correct or not. Where it becomes interesting, and all practical use cases in blockchain have to entail some kind of off-chain data, because for a DeFi protocol, I need to know certain charts of certain coins. If it's as simple as I need to know the time, that's usually not on-chain data. I need to get that from outside. I can give you the block we are in, right? But I cannot necessarily give you the exact time in most chains. And again, I'm also not to that level deep into the technical side, but from a theoretical point of view, I have on-chain data. I have everything. It's immutable. I have the trail or whatever data I'm using. I can backtrace. But I need to have off-chain data for most use cases. That's where Chainlink and the likes come in. And Chainlink started with charts, like charts for certain coins, for certain prices. And I need to get that from off-chain, and I might be manipulated. I don't know. I know once they are on-chain, I can backtrace what happens with them if there's manipulation on-chain, but I don't know if the initial data point I got is completely correct. ZK proofs can help there and so on, but in essence, the only part where you can be absolutely sure is everything that stayed on chain. It was created on chain and stayed on chain, to be frank. That's I think my answer to this. That's why it's important for to create actual auditability and a proper audit trail, so to speak, for AI agents to introduce that blockchain layer, because as long as their decisions, their inference is on chain and keep staying on chain, eventually you have a much higher degree on confidence into the decisions that are made. And the decisions are only as good as the data that was used to make those decisions. There, you're absolutely correct. But I think that's the best I can give you. Again, another question, if you want us to bring in the big tech guns, let us know. But be prepared that this will be a challenging podcast for most people, because it will go really deep. But it seems you're really interested in it, so let us know if this is something you're interested in. Going even more brainy, techy than this podcast, we can definitely facilitate that. The last one, looking forward, what does a major or mature rather AI on blockchain ecosystem look like, and what milestones must we hit to get there? So this is something I think I would love to hear your opinion on. What's still needed to get into something that makes sense as an AI on blockchain ecosystem?
That's a good question. Let's say that for me, I will take the question the other side, meaning that I cannot imagine a blockchain successful without integrating AI solution now, because it's going to take over a lot of things. So if you look at current blockchain ecosystem now, if they are not designed or welcoming or whatever AI model, AI solution, AI agents, because they are not done for that. At the beginning, they were not designed for that, and they don't have the flexibility to adapt. I'm pretty sure they are going to die. That's one of my convictions. So that said, I think even on the technical side, things are moving forward. I think one of the most important things is the adoption from users, because I think there is a big issues in the crypto space is the fact that we do have a lot of application, there's a lot of things to do, but we don't have the users that use on a daily basis or regularly a lot of applications out there. So as Eric said before, I think also that that's a good thing that, fundraising is getting harder because before you could have a lot of people developing some company, getting funded, developing a product without any user. So the fact that now there is a shift, meaning that, okay, so build an MVP, have users, and if it works, then you're going to be fundraised, and then you're going to scale your company and build on better metrics, let's say. So I think that for an AI on blockchain ecosystem, what it looks like, I think the most important is the user. You could have the best tech, you could have the best app, but if no one is using it, it's completely useful. So for me, that will be the number of users and number of transactions, for example. That will be the best metrics and the best milestones. That's why also the question is good, because I said before, I'm pretty sure that 80% of layer 1 and layer 2 are completely useless now because there's no users, there's few developers building on the top of it. And I think we need to, maybe there is like a centralization to be done in the crypto space for that reason. So we can try to have the best people working on developing app, attracting users, doing some cross marketing and cross functionalities between app to build strong partnership. And I think it will be much more easy if it's the same blockchain, and that's the same for AI. The interoperability is very important there. So that will be my answer. I think I didn't answer like 100% of the question, but still this is my answer.
Perfect. No, I think there's not much I can add to this. I think also as with everything, right? It's the user first, and wherever there's a market, people will build. So I think there will be interesting use cases, but it will take time to really facilitate and get to the point where the right use cases are identified and grow and scale. And that, again, if there are users, people will build it eventually. That concludes the questions. Pierre, thanks so much for making this happen today, and thanks for hanging around even though we are almost 30 minutes over time. It's really appreciated. If people have questions to you, if they want to learn more about it now, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. They can come on the Telegram group, ask for some question with no problem. It could be also on X, X Twitter. If you want to get more information about Digno, how it works, what's the decentralized a way to validate data and how to participate, just come and be curious, and we would love to give you some more explanation, and we would love also to have your feedback on the platform itself. So it would be a pleasure, and this is where you can find us, and it would be really cool.
Sounds great. Thanks again for your time, Pierre. Next episode will be probably in about 2 weeks, but soon I will let you know in more detail with a wonderful guest, which I don't know yet who it will be, as always, because I'm lazy and I don't look these things up as I should. But thanks for everyone to be here for the fantastic questions. I'm really blown away by the depth of questions you're asking us. I don't remember us struggling, actually having to think so deeply to answer them properly. That's really, really amazing to see. Thanks a lot, everyone. And see you again in about 2 weeks' time. Can't wait for the next one. This was really amazing.